Yeah, that picture of your mother is in the obituary with the,
Yeah.
when was that?
So that was a while ago. She was visiting me in California, and I was flipping through. I was emailing Art, like, "You got any good photos?" And it was actually from 2009. It turns out, so it was old, but it was such a happy.
Perfect.
And she had her, her whipped cream, right? So I just thought it was really
Yeah, phone's on silent.
Yes, can you see your program again?
Yeah.
Make sure I have all the speakers. Oh, I don't know where Alicia Owen is, but I met her.
She's an interesting lady.
So there's one here needs to be
Make sure, check your vision.
Welcome, everyone. I greet you in the name and spirit of Jesus Christ, and I want to thank you for being here as we gather to remember and to celebrate the life of Ellen Lundblad Crocker. before we get started, I just wanted to let you know a couple of things, just general housekeeping things. First of all, there's a bathroom right across this room, to my right, to your left, and the bathroom is directly across the room over near the door to the outside. And there are also 2 more bathrooms down on the floor below this one. There's a door back here, and you go down the stairs and through the kitchen, and there are 2 more bathrooms down there. Also, just so you know, we also have a space out here for children. If there's any restlessness, if the children would like to go out there to play, there's an area in that room for children. And also we have a playground outside. I just ask that if you do have children on the playground, that there's adult supervision for them out there. So with that, we begin our, and I also wanted to mention, it is a hot afternoon. If you at any time feel the need to grab some water or just take a stretch break, feel free to do that as we go through the service. So today, as we gather, we come with different memories of Ellen from many different places in our understanding of faith, spirituality, life, and death. Ellen honored that kind of openness. She was a seeker who valued honest questions more than easy answers, and she recognized the wisdom of many different traditions. In that same spirit, all are welcome here. Those who come with a particular faith, those who are uncertain, and those who claim no faith at all. Today we will make room for our sadness, but also for gratitude for Ellen's keen mind and compassionate heart, for her humor and her independence, for the questions she asked, for the many ways that she helped others see themselves and the world differently. Most of all, we give thanks for the love that she shared with Stuart, her family, her friends, all those whose lives became part of hers. So let us enter this time together with open hearts and open minds. I invite us into a time for us just to be centered, to take a moment to become fully present. Feel your feet resting on the ground. Notice the breath moving gently in and out. Allow yourself for this moment simply to be here. We bring with us many emotions: sadness, gratitude, loss, and love. Perhaps questions for which there are no answers. We do not need to set any of them aside. We make room for all that we carry, for all that this gathering may awaken within us. In the quiet, let us remember Ellen, her smile, her searching mind, her careful attention, and the particular way her presence touched our lives. May this time hold us together in honesty, compassion, and love. Our hymn this afternoon is a favorite of Ellen's. It's a favorite, and it is number 4 in our hymnal, the black hymnal. It's a tune I think everybody's pretty familiar with. Joyful, joyful, we adore you. The words will also be on the screen if you would rather follow that way. And I invite us to rise in body or spirit. Let us sing together. to invite Sarah Crocker to come forward for some readings.
I just want to say thank you for everyone who's here today. It's very meaningful for us all as a family and community to spend this time together. Thank you. So I'm going to be reading a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist teacher that Ellen loved so dearly. Some of her Buddhist friends who meditated in community for more than 10 years with her are here today. And I want to read that quote in honor of her faith and their connection together. Around us, life bursts with miracles. A glass of water, a ray of sunshine, a leaf, a caterpillar, a flower, laughter, raindrops. If you live in awareness, it's easy to see miracles everywhere. Each human being is a multiplicity of miracles, eyes that see thousands of colors, shapes and forms, ears that hear a bee flying or a thunderclap, a brain that ponders a speck of dust as easily as the entire cosmos, a heart that beats in rhythm with the heartbeat of all beings. When we are tired and feel discouraged by life's daily struggles, we may not notice these miracles, but they are always there. And then I just wanted to share a brief poem that I wrote for Ellen right after she died. Ellen, there is no moment now that I can't smile from end to end when thinking of you. In many of the recent years, upon my return home to Bethel, your mantra had become, I'm fading fast, only to find your humor as sharp as ever, the twinkle in your sweet little eyes peering over the edges of your readers as you fired off some quick retort towards Dad. But that's not what I'll remember you by. And not because I'm choosing to not remember those things, but because you left me with something different. In the warm, early morning hours of your passing, as your body slowly stiffened, I felt the room absolutely full of you. Full of warmth, full of love, full of caring and activity, full of acceptance, full of grace, full of joy, full of you. When you decided to fill a room, even in your most challenging moments, there was no stopping you, least of all your death. You told me once, as I was waiting to give birth to Jonah, that when Catherine was born and upon seeing her tiny little fingers and tiny little toes for the first time, you burst out into celebratory song. That is how I will remember you, beautiful Ellen, absolutely full of it. Thank you.
Shortly before her death, Ellen sent me an email with a scripture reading that it really resonated with her, and she wanted to have included in this celebration of life. So I'm going to begin with the reading of Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37, and this is from the Message version of the Bible, the story of the Good Samaritan. Just then, a religion scholar stood up with a question to test Jesus. Teacher, what do I need to do to get eternal life? He answered, what's written in God's law? How do you interpret it? He said that you love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and muscle and intelligence, and that you love your neighbor as well as you do yourself. Good answer, said Jesus. Do it and you'll live. Looking for a loophole, he asked, and just how would you define neighbor? Jesus answered by telling a story. There was once a man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho. On the way, he was attacked by robbers. They took his clothes, beat him up, and went off, leaving him half dead. Luckily, a priest was on his way down the same road, but when he saw him, he angled across to the other side. Then a Levite religious man showed up. He also avoided the injured man. A Samaritan traveling the road came on him. When he saw the man's condition, his heart went out to him. He gave him first aid, disinfecting and bandaging his wounds. Then he lifted him onto his donkey, led him to an inn, and made him comfortable. In the morning, he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, take good care of him. If it costs you any more, put it on my bill. I'll pay you on my way back. Jesus said, what do you think? Which of the 3 became a neighbor to the man attacked by robbers? The one who treated him kindly, the religion scholar responded. Jesus said, go and do the same. I used to say to Ellen, I visited her many times over the years, and I used to say often at the end of one of our visits, I would say, I love our conversations. And I truly meant it. We could talk about almost anything. Religion, politics, vocation, family, the meaning of life and death, and it never felt as though those were subjects we needed to avoid or questions that we were not allowed to ask. Ellen brought to those conversations a spirit of openness and searching. She didn't need easy answers. She loved the questions and was willing to live with them. Although I was Ellen's pastor, our visits were always a two-way street. I benefited from her knowledge and wisdom, I'm sure, more than anything she received from me. In fact, there were times when Ellen became a spiritual director to me. When I was struggling with questions about my own vocation, she drew upon her long experience as a psychotherapist, not to tell me what to do, but to listen carefully, to ask thoughtful questions, help me to see things differently. Ellen always asked about my family, my work, how I was doing. These were never perfunctory questions. She was genuinely interested in the answers. Even as her hearing worsened and conversation became more difficult, she found a way to remain fully present. She used to talk to text app and read everything I said with great attention and intention. That took patience and effort, and especially as her hearing loss left her increasingly isolated. Yet Ellen continued to reach out and remain interested in the lives of others. An essay Ellen wrote about her years at Wellesley helps me understand where that way of living came from. She remembered her mother telling her, "You have been given many gifts. You did not earn them. They're gifts, and you have the responsibility to use them for the common good." Her parents were Norwegian immigrants who had little formal education themselves, but valued education deeply. Ellen arrived at Wellesley as the first generation of her family to attend college, uncertain whether she belonged, and amid the privilege she saw around her, yet She discovered people who were intellectually curious in the way that she was. And as she put it, there were people like me. I belonged. Ellen studied philosophy because she was drawn to questions. One question about why obviously gifted students sometimes struggled eventually led her into human development and a career of more than 40 years as a psychotherapist. In her later years at a small rural Maine hospital, she worked with people who were poor, disadvantaged, and struggling. Her own modest beginnings helped her understand what they were facing. Ellen wrote that Wellesley helped her find the courage to speak up for women and become a public champion for the needy. She concluded her essay with the college motto, non ministrari sed ministrare. I know I didn't pronounce that right. Sorry, my Latin is not good. Not to be ministered unto, but to minister. That spirit of service didn't require Ellen to hold conventional religious beliefs. She was agnostic, open to wisdom found in many traditions, and in many ways Buddhist in her orientation toward life. Her spirituality was about remaining attentive, continuing to seek, trying to live compassionate. Something else Ellen wrote in 2017 brings that philosophy into even clearer focus. After hearing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, she reflected on the Ode to Joy, which we just sang, and its vision of all people becoming brothers and sisters. She wrote that the music reached into the deepest universal soul yearning, the hope that we might recognize our kinship with one another and discover joy in that recognition. Ellen contrasted that vision with the greed, power, personal gain, and disregard for the earth she saw in the government at that time. And her words feel no less relevant now. She asked, is there a basic bone of decency in humankind which reverberates and reacts when wounded? What is it within us, she wondered, that calls us to stand up and begin again? For Ellen, this was about something deeper than party or politics. It was about what it means to be human and to walk together upon this earth. And that's why the story of the Good Samaritan, I think, was meaningful to Ellen. It asks a very practical question. What does it mean to be a neighbor? In the story, the person who stops to help a Samaritan was despised by the Jewish people. They were people, they did not ever mingle, interact with one another. But in the story, the person who stops to help crosses those boundaries of religion, ethnicity, and social convention to care for someone whose need is right in front of him. He doesn't first ask whether the injured person deserves help or shares his beliefs or comes from the right place. He recognizes the humanity of another person and responds. Ellen was deeply troubled by the ways the current administration encourages us to fear our neighbors, especially immigrants and those labeled as outsiders or aliens in our midst. For Ellen, the Good Samaritan called us in precisely the opposite direction, to widen our circle of concern until we recognize that everyone is our neighbor. As she wrote in 2017, we are continually asked to choose between the base self seeking personal gain and the higher self seeking to unite with all persons for the greater good. And then, characteristically, Ellen ended not with an answer, but with a question. Which self will prevail? Ellen lived her response through the way she listened, she asked questions, she helped people see their lives differently. She loved Stuart and her family deeply. She treasured her beautiful home and life that they shared. In her essay, Ellen described herself as living happily ever after in a small Maine town. I'm glad she found that happiness with Stuart. I'll remember her smile, her sense of humor, her independence, her zeal for life. People gathered here today may understand faith and death and whatever lies beyond this life in many different ways. Ellen would have respected that. She would never ask us to claim more certainty than we profess. possess. Perhaps the best way to honor her is to remain open to one another, to the questions, to the mystery, and to use whatever gifts that we have been given for the common good. When we encounter someone in need, may we cross the road toward them rather than away. When another person speaks, may we listen with the care Ellen gave to us. And when the choice is placed before us, may the higher self prevail. The self that recognizes our shared humanity, seeks the greater good, and dares to believe that we are all neighbors on this earth. Amen.
Hello, I am Catherine Nyhus, Ellen's youngest daughter. I want to thank the Crockers, the Lundblads, and the Nyhuses who are here today to celebrate, as well as extended family and friends, the life of my mother, Ellen Crocker. I also want to thank the people who took care of my mother at the end of her life. Stuart, of course, Sarah and Bonnie Crocker, my cousins Eric and Cindy, Betsy Cooper, and her good friend, Judith. My mother was born to Norwegian immigrant parents in Berlin, New Hampshire in 1938. Her Norwegian-ness was a huge part of her identity, and she carried that throughout her life. As kids, we wore traditional Norwegian costumes in all of our formal holiday photos, and we ate the food, and we decorated, and we did all the things that we were sure people were doing in Oslo, especially at Christmas. My mother attended Wellesley College and earned a master's at Radcliffe College. I think she knew how fortunate she was to come from humble circumstances and to have these experiences and opportunities. When I was 10, my mother turned 40. She threw herself a lavish party at the big college house in Brunswick where we lived at the time. I remember she wore a long, silky red dress. She put on fake eyelashes, fake nails, and as someone reminded me recently, carried a long cigarette holder. No, she was never a smoker. She just did that for effect. My mother liked a good party, and she liked to throw a good party. Sometimes she didn't mind being the center of attention. And she contained multitudes. She drove too fast. She drove off the road at least a few times in her life because she couldn't slow down in time for a turn. Sometimes she thought she was stronger than she actually was. Once she asked me to help her move a portable air conditioning unit into the basement. She said she'd take the heavier side on the downhill. She had on flip-flops. She lost her grip. The air conditioning unit tumbled over her back and down the stairs, but somehow she wasn't hurt. Que sera, sera. She said that a lot. She was a psychotherapist and a big fan of Carl Jung. She also loved Thich Nhat Hanh and had a deep appreciation for Buddhism. She embraced gratitude, especially at the end when her body was failing her. She felt so lucky to sit in her chair and look out at the pond and the tall trees every day, in all sorts of weather, all year round. She knew she was fortunate that she could stay at home until the end. Her husband, Stuart, made that possible, taking excellent care of her with loads of patience and compassion. May we all be so lucky. I've lived away from Maine for decades, so I only caught glimpses of my mother's life when I would visit. I know she valued friends and community and had lots of both, despite living in rural Maine. I could never keep track of which women's group or meditation group or book club she was in, not to mention all the members of each. Sometimes it seemed that everyone in a 20-mile radius knew my mother. But she and Stuart also had many friends from around the world. Often they were people who came as guests to their bed and breakfast and left as friends. They loved to travel. Before the pandemic, Mom, Stuart, Tracy, and I took a trip to France. The most memorable day for me was the day when we all decided to take a long stroll down the Seine. The walk path had been upgraded to contain cafes and playgrounds and places to rest in the shade all along the banks of the river. It was a magical, bright, sunny day. We saw Notre Dame that day, just a few months before it caught fire. At one point on our walk, Mom and I slipped off to a Scandinavian clothing store nearby. I don't remember how she knew to look for it, but she had an eagle eye for all things Scandinavian. I bought her a dress. I bought myself a dress and I bought her a scarf. She was a scarf hound, but I think this was one of her favorites. And I want to leave you with this last image. First, you should know that my mother was an adamant agnostic. She was not an atheist, and you know she didn't belong to any organized religion. But she didn't want to rule out any prospects of what might happen after death. And she told me more than a few times that she was curious and open to amazing possibilities. When I was about 6, although we also didn't practice any kind of religion as a family, somehow I grabbed onto the idea of heaven. And I knew in my little 6-year-old head exactly what heaven looks like. Here's what it looks like. When you're on an airplane heading up into the clouds, and you burst through the clouds into the blue, that's heaven. Specifically, the people in heaven are bouncing around on the thick white clouds you see below you, and they are living a charmed life. At 6, I was certain of it. As a kid, I called it fluffy cloudland, but just to myself. I never told anyone. So when you're flying and you see the white fluffy clouds below you and the clear blue sky above, think of my mother. She's there. She's there with her parents, Joseph and Signa, her brothers, Frank and Cliff, and their wives, Debbie and Molly. She's there with little Eric. She's there with friends who predeceased her, and she's there with her several generations of black cats. And she's there with our childhood dog, Tootsie Roll. And she's saving a spot for you, Stuart. You can trust me on that. And maybe there'll be room for some of the rest of us if we play our cards right, because she did love a party. Love you, Mom. Hope to see you in fluffy cloudland someday.
It would be bad to fall walking up the stairs. Thank you, Jen. I treasure the friendship I've had with Ellen and Stuart, and of course with the rest of the family. I'm reading When Death Comes by Mary Oliver. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering what it's going to be like in that cottage of darkness. And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence. And each body, a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world.
Hello, I'm Christine Lundblad, one of Ellen's nieces. My father, Cliff, was one of her brothers, along with Frank. When I was young, our families got together often, gathering for Thanksgiving and Christmas, skiing or swimming at Frank's place in Ossipee, New Hampshire, and dance parties that ran outside the side door and back in the front and made the record skip. Ellen loved people and was a terrific hostess. We've heard that more than once today. In the last decade or so, she and Stuart were part of several Lundblad family reunions at Crocker Pond House and the surrounding area. As we nieces and nephew became adults, she fostered individual relationships with us, checking in and keeping up with our news. Ellen was particularly special to me and my sister Heidi. We lost our mother in 1994 when we were only in our 30s, and Ellen gracefully floated into a matriarchal role. Never heavy-handed, just there to listen, help, love. When our mother died, my children were just 7 and 4, and it was devastating. Over time, both my daughter Kelsey and my son Colin grew close to Ellen in many ways, and she assumed a special role. Not grandmother substitute, but a trustworthy senior family member who knew their roots. For many years, we made an annual trip to Bethel to bake Norwegian Christmas cookies together. Ellen showered us with love and kindness, as well as sugar and flour, then and during other trips to Crocker Pond House. When college came for my kids, scheduling visits became challenging. We didn't visit as often, but our bonds remained strong. Kelsey and Colin became independent adults with their own relationship with Ellen. In fact, Ellen and Stuart facilitated Colin's proposal to his wife, Amanda, one weekend when they were visiting Crocker Pond House. Colin popped the question during a hike in the woods around their property. I knew nothing about it before. Colin conspired only with Ellen and Stuart. They were excellent secret keepers. And Amanda said yes. So I have a confession to make. I save emails. My inbox is ridiculously full. But because of this, when I searched on Ellen's name, more than 250 emails came up back as far as 2011. I spent a delightful afternoon reading. I was reminded of Ellen's love of family and how deeply she felt gratitude, graciously appreciating the contributions of others, from Stuart to Kath to Eric and Cindy, other caregivers, friends, and family. Here's a part of an email she wrote to me on November 10th, 2019, the day after attending Colin and Amanda's wedding. Quote, I am overflowing with gratitude for that wonderful occasion, for the beauty and wonder of it all, and for loving family. Thank you for honoring us by including us. It was lovely to be surrounded by family at the rehearsal dinner. And with my hearing device hiding in Colin's pocket, I followed the whole ceremony and was a witness to those I do's. I spoke quietly to Amanda and Colin at their reception table, saying that I felt I was the representative of those not there who had loved Colin through the years and who would have been so grateful he found Amanda, his grandfather, his grandmother, and his father. End quote. She had a way with words. Ellen, I already miss you deeply. You will always be right here in my heart. And I know I'm not the only one.
Hello, my name is Dixie Stedman, and I'm here today with two close friends. And together, oh, I'm getting messages.
Closer, a little closer, little closer.
A little closer. Am I with you now? Thank you, okay. As I said, the three of us are here today to talk about Ellen and a special friendship. Ellen was a wonderful friend, intelligent, highly educated, irreverent, a bit of a clothes horse. She had a long resume of talents. Connection was extremely important to her, and she cared deeply for those she befriended or worked with professionally. Quite human, like all of us, yet a marvel in many ways. She was a member of many groups over her long life, but this is how we claimed her. About 50 years ago, give or take a few, Ellen and Mike Rosenzweig, another practicing licensed clinical social worker in the Brunswick area, and here today, as I said, led a group of women through an informal exploration of some of the current issues facing women at that point in time. It was the very early 80s, after all. The difference being, it was not a one-on-one quasi-therapy experience, but talking together in a larger group of about a dozen. When the two back-to-back sessions wound down as planned, it was deemed a success and over. But the women involved had spawned friendships, and many expressed an interest in continuing. As the first group ended, it quickly reformed as the leaderless, unstructured social gathering that became a monthly Friday night get together with potluck food and no agenda except talking to one another, privately telling what was true and important and sometimes difficult. We referred to ourselves as simply the group, and we enjoyed the nod to Mary McCarthy's book of the same early era. Slowly, time and changes spread our meetings out, and people moved and changed in normal ways, reducing our numbers. We decided we couldn't imagine introducing newcomers so deeply had we spoken with each other. At some point, Ellen and Stuart moved to Bethel, built a home here, and became part of the welcoming, creative community. For a time, she continued to join us for our ongoing meetups in Brunswick, usually staying over with someone or the others. But she wisely stopped the long drives quite a while ago. Then, after a bit of a long stretch, we three remaining loyalists began to take ourselves to Bethel for the occasional long Saturday afternoon of stories and catching up. Already Ellen didn't shy away from the hard subjects. In fact, she dove in. But it is also true that she beamed in the company of her familiars. And didn't we have fun? She taught us much, including especially to listen, really listen without interruption. And she chortled when she was delighted, and she held us close. Ellen was a wonderful friend.
Excuse me, I'm Judith Mall, a longtime friend of Ellen's. I once read that the best relationship we can have in life is one where our heart is deeply touched and we are changed to be more kind, more honest, and more open. That describes my 30 years of friendship with Ellen. We met through a mutual friend and recognized immediately how simpatico we were. While we lived 75 miles apart, we frequently spent time together in one another's home and were in frequent communication. Ellen and I often traveled together, sometimes the two of us, sometimes with Stuart, annually with our women's group of 12 years. Skiing in Europe, exploring Vienna and Budapest, weeks at the ocean on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, California, Cape Cod, Florida. So many adventures. Seeing each other as sisters, we celebrated many holidays together over the years. Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July, always birthdays. The 21 years I was a volunteer at Maine Adaptive at Sunday River provided a great opportunity for overnights at Crocker Pond House. Ellen and I shared books and bargain shopping, politics and poetry, and we adored each other's cats. We laughed often and long about the foibles and craziness of life, our own and in the larger world. We were both psychotherapists, committed feminists, lifelong spiritual seekers and practitioners of Buddhism. We also both lived our lives with the challenges of significant hearing impairment and understood it from the inside out, as others really can't. That was another of our many bonds of empathy. Ellen would sometimes say to me, and I to her, I need you to put on your therapy hat. And we'd share what was troubling us, trusting that honesty, wisdom, and kindness were always there. We both were endlessly curious about life and totally committed to learning and growing. Ellen's directness and openness inspired me to be more vulnerable. And I needed to remind, even convince Ellen of her own wisdom and insightfulness, which she often failed to fully appreciate or completely value in herself. In the last few years, her physical problems increased and some memory loss occurred. Ellen fretted over what she said was her inability to be the friend she wanted to be. I had to keep reminding her of the endless ways she was an extraordinary friend. As I was writing this, I literally couldn't recall the numbers of times that Ellen, Stuart, and I were cared for each other, were cared for by each other, as many medical situations arose over the years. We all knew that we would be there for each other however we could, and we were. Gratitude was a life force for Ellen and for me. We openly and often talked about the amazing good fortune of finding one another and sharing our lives and how grateful we were. We frequently told each other how much we loved one another. So at the end, there was nothing left unsaid. Ellen, you touched my heart in endless ways and modeled how to be more kind, more honest, more open. As our teacher Thich Nhat Hanh taught, there are no endings and no beginnings, no after, no before. You are a part of me and I of you. Go in freedom and know that you are loved, dear sister. fortunate enough to have had Ellen for a friend for a long time. I have to start with an anecdote which will be perfectly self-explanatory, but it's a little complicated, so just bear with me. This happened maybe 25 years ago, even longer. Ellen and I were having lunch at AJ's in Stoneham, probably on our way to an afternoon of shopping in Conway. Our friendship, I think, was fairly new. Ellen knew so much about so many things. I was in awe, but she was utterly clueless about one thing: pop culture. What's a Klingon? What's Hogwarts? Super Mario? And who are the X-Men anyway? None of this was of any concern to her, and I used to kid her a lot about it. It often, because it really hampered her ability to finish the New York Times crosswords. More kidding and some help. Captain of the Millennium Falcon, 7 letters. Navigator of the Starship Enterprise, 4 letters. Wonder Woman's enemy, also 4 letters. I kept trying to find ways of understanding why she was so important to me, and so many others. And I hit on a pop culture answer. So of course at lunch on this day, I tried to explain it to her. I was deep into watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, Next Gen for short, and while she rolled her eyes, I explained. The officers on the bridge of the Enterprise come from all over the galaxy to do all sorts of jobs: navigators, weapons, communications, etc. The newest officer, new to the series and to the bridge, was Lieutenant Commander Deanna Troi. In parentheses, I have lots of male friends who watch Next Gen only because of Lieutenant Deanna Troi. She was the ship empath. And I said, Ellen, that's what you are. I said, this is Spaceship Earth. You're the ship empath. And she looked at me, she leaned forward and said, that's what I want to be. Please say that at my funeral. I'd like to read 2 poems. Ellen was a crossword puzzle junkie. She sometimes did several a day, the harder the better, despite being defeated by Enterprise Android 4 letters again. And as she began having difficulty remembering, she said with her usual wry wisdom and self-knowledge, there was one real benefit. Ken Bohr had given her a book of New York Times Sunday puzzles, and she said she could do them all again because she didn't remember having done them in the first place. I warn you ahead of time, I am no Mary Oliver. Each poem, there are 2 poems, each is in a different voice. The first is she, that's perfectly obvious. The second is I, and I intend that, I hope, to be all of us. Monday morning crossword. Usually at breakfast, she begins solving where she left off yesterday. Each day's puzzle, a seamless flow into the next, solve, solving, solved, and solve again. Coffee jump starts her day. She wants printed clues, printed words, and wants the day's pattern in front of her on paper. Her mistakes are only occasional, but she also wants a pencil with a good eraser. This Monday morning, she's trying to resolve time as it moves across and down her days, filling in the blank places, afraid that no answer will help her solve the losses she dissolves from, especially since we all know Monday's puzzle is the simplest. Her anxiety builds as the week goes on. Answers seem hidden in some manual she does not have. This Saturday's makes her more and more uneasy. Human nature's puzzles not squared off in black and white. No string of easy Mondays. The challenge comes, as she knew it would, at the end of this increasingly difficult week. The answers she must find are polysyllabic, complicated, elusive. She looks it over and smiles. The flow is seamless as she solves this one in ink. First sip, so hot it burns. I can go sit in the green recliner by the double window after I pour some into the peacock blue and green glazed mug, lone survivor of a set. The rest into the little silver GH Bass thermos that keeps stuff hot overnight.
The taste matches the sharp scent of oak leaves, the smell out there beyond the big window, aroma that becomes taste as I swallow the second swallow. The Sunday crossword holds the world at pencil length while I solve the puzzle of loss and grief, and they become one with the tang of the third swallow that somehow tastes of thinking about the space in my heart that was lost but opens into love. A fourth swallow, the puzzle almost done. I have enough correct answers to savor their bitter, bright taste.
Having heard these memories, let us now pause in gratitude. Give thanks for Ellen's life, for her intelligence and curiosity, her courage and independence, her commitment to the common good, her willingness to keep asking questions. We are grateful for the people she listened to and helped, for the boundaries she crossed in compassion, for the ways she called others toward a wider understanding of who our neighbors are. We give thanks for Ellen's love for Stuart and her family, for the happiness she found in her beautiful home and small Maine town, for all the ordinary moments that became a life shared together. May we carry forward what Ellen gave us, not by trying to hold on to her, but by allowing her wisdom, love, humor, and compassion to continue taking shape in the ways we live. For Ellen's life and for the many ways it became part of our own, we are deeply grateful. As we leave this gathering, may we go with gratitude for Ellen, for her life she shared with us. May we remain open to questions that deepen our understanding. May we listen to others with genuine attention. May we cross the road toward those who need a neighbor. May we use our gifts for the common good. And when we're asked to choose between fear and compassion, isolation and kinship, personal gain and the greater good, may the higher self prevail. Let us go carrying Ellen's memory with us continuing the work of becoming more fully human together upon this earth. Immediately following our gathering today there's a reception right here in the adjoining room, and all are invited to stay for that, and also to greet the family. There will be a receiving line in that room for if you'd like to greet family members. And I also would like to invite you, we do have one more piece, the postlude that is recorded, recording of Yo-Yo Ma with some more pictures from Ellen's life. Backwards. Service is concluded. Let us now move into the fellowship time in the chapel. Let us go in peace and be led out in joy. Okay.